Hey there, folks. Welcome to today's episode of the Strategy and Leadership Podcast. My guest today is Sunny Han, who is the CEO and founder at Fulcrum. Sunny, what's happening today?
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you having me on the show. It's a good day for me today. How about you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm excited to chat. I'm excited to learn more about what you're working on. I'm interested to see what that curve is on the back wall, but I don't want to give away any trade secrets. But why don't you tell our listeners about who you are and what Fulcrum is and how it helps people in the world?
Yeah, Fulcrum is what most people would probably think of as an ERP platform. We don't think about it like that internally. For us, we talk about it like a manufacturing operating system. So we focus a lot on automating and digitizing production and making things a lot more future forward focused. I think that there's a lot that the manufacturing industry has done in terms of with technology. They were one of the first industries to hire engineers and software programmers to build software for them. And I think the entire concept of an ERP system, of a database, were all invented for manufacturing companies. So we're just ready for another new wave, another big burst of technological advancement for manufacturers. And for us, the piece of the puzzle that we're trying to solve is the data piece. How do you manage and control and plan and execute all the things that are happening in your manufacturing facility?
And Fulcrum, big company, small company?
Small. We're growing, but we're small. The team is 80 people large now, and we raised our Series A last year. We're tripled in revenue, and the year before that we tripled as well. So obviously that's going to be hard to continue to do, but we're a puppy with big paws.
Awesome. Well, I got that. Well, to some people, 80 is, to a lot of people, 80 is large. So it's all a matter of perspective. So I just appreciate you being here. I'm excited to chat and learn more about what you're up to. So tripling. What's that been like for you as a founder, for you as a CEO? What have been some of those, lessons learned, and how's it going?
I think primarily for me, some of the lessons learned are different forms of cowardice that I experience personally. I don't think before I started the company that I would have seen myself as a coward in different regards. Obviously, I thought that I could make a lot of decisions and be courageous in the face of adversity, or whatever you want to call it. I think the truth of the matter is that until you start to scale a company, you potentially have never really been pushed to make decisions that are that impactful in that short of a period of time. In all my previous career, as a consultant, as an engineer, as a hired gun outside leader, all of those things were much more narrow, right? Either the businesses were established already, or the goal and the mission was there already. For me, it's fun, but also increasingly daunting to know that the decisions that I make are going to continuously affect 80, 100, 500, however many people we grow into, right? I think that's probably the biggest emotional thing, is that sometimes I want to just be able to, not think about those things for a little bit of time. So that's something that I didn't expect, and that's kind of prescient right now in terms of how I'm looking into the future. But I think there's a lot of things. I think there's a lot of things about how to work with each other, how to hire people. I think one of the things we discovered is that we have really strong values about how we want to conduct ourselves. And sometimes that makes it really hard to read a blog article, get a good idea, and try to implement it. Because if that idea somehow has some baggage that's very different than what you're trying to do as a company, it can be really disastrous, even though it was very successful for another company. So those are probably the flavor of things, is that the muscles that I used to rely on, going out and reading a bunch of books and articles to do a bunch of research to see what I should do, they're becoming less and less applicable over time.
Yeah, that's an amazing insight. And, one of the things that I hear from the fact that your decisions now carry more weight is a function of the fact that what you are delivering is helping hundreds, if not thousands or tens of thousands of people. So that the weight of all of those things are because you're doing a great thing for other people. So, otherwise you would just stay small. So if you weren't doing the good thing, what energizes you about the space that you're in? Because you are, moving forward in a world that's dynamic and changing. And obviously, ERP's technology 10 years ago is not the same as it is now. the world of manufacturing is not the same as it was 3 years ago. What is exciting to you about the problem solving opportunity ahead?
I mean, for me, it was a thing. Wasn't exposed to manufacturing as a kid, and I wrote little computer games when I was a child. When I was like 10 or 11, I started like writing code and selling it and pretending I was an adult on the internet, things like that. But what is really exciting to me is that manufacturing is extremely foundational to the entire world. Everything is produced, everything that's in your background there, somebody did something to some material to get it to be like that, right? I think we don't realize that the internet is based on a bunch of switches and computers and routers that connect us to each other. And all those things need to be manufactured and designed and iterated upon and upgraded. For me, I know that there's a lot of attention in financial technology and healthcare technology and a bunch of different things right now, but it's really exciting that this is a space that has hundreds of thousands of businesses in just the US alone. I think the fact that we have this rich, democratized, decentralized network of manufacturers that exist in America is really the cornerstone value that American manufacturing has, and other countries have it as well. Germany has it, Japan has it. It's not just us. But for me to be able to write software and spread it into the market to enable that type of manufacturing to continue to be competitive and the best, that's really exciting to me. Because I think somebody told me, like, when you're working on something and you want it to be really impactful, you have to see your decisions as voting on what future you want. And the future that I want a future where there's artisans and craftsmen and craftswomen that are out there building really great things for satellites and rockets and cars and temporary tattoos, however small or however big the thing is. I want that to be done by the people that really understand and know things. What I don't want is this giant factory where that has a monopoly and everything that's made has to go through them. And I'm voting with as many hours a week as I can put into it in trying to preserve that part of a democratized manufacturing world and doing it in a way that's supported by good software.
Cool. I love that. And I think that's really cool how you see that future that you're putting in place through the actions that you take. It's more than just, building a business. It is like that values driven piece. As you've grown the company and scaled, how have you been able to communicate and ingrain that same kind of, I'll call it an idealistic future, because we're talking about the ideals. How have you been able to organizationally duplicate that such that people in your organization see what you're doing more than just, hey, we're building software, we're actually like shaping the future of the world we want to live in?
Yeah, it's been described many ways like this, but our company itself is a network of people. We're half hybrid, half here in Minneapolis. We fly people together to see each other in person and to have these meetings. We spend a lot of money on that. But really, the analogy we use internally is that the company is a cybernetic brain. Each individual person is a neuron that has to connect to many other people in different ways to form ideas and thoughts and get things done. And as an entire company, we need to be aligned on those thoughts, but really it's that sharing process that needs to happen. So there's a few things that I do that are contrarian. I try to keep as little process and as little bureaucracy and as a little approval as possible, understanding that sometimes we're going to make mistakes and it's going to cost money, and that's okay. We hire people that are very collaborative, that are very ethical, that are very hardworking and have good work ethic. We have a lot of transparency. Our board decks, our monthly updates, our financials, how much money is in the bank account, how much money we're making, deals that we've lost, deals that we've won, customers that are happy, customers that have churned, customers that are pissed, bugs. Everything is exposed to everybody in Slack, every single person. There's nothing that's hidden other than private information and health stuff and individual information, stuff like that. Every other business factor is shown. And I think that creates a culture of we're dealing with problems. We're not trying to hide them or spin them or sell them in a different way. So if you think about the company as a brain, to have a healthy brain, you have to feed it well and grow good neurons. but you have to also keep it from being delusional. You have to ground it in what reality is. And so I think those are the concepts that we reinforce. We hire in bursts to be able to accomplish this. We, instead of hiring kind of trickling people in, we hire in a big burst to try to make sure that the new folks that are coming in are influenced by the culture, but also can influence it as well. And that gives them a sense of ownership that they're creating this culture and this business together with us instead of just joining our ship, if that makes any sense. It's unknown how long these strategies will be able to be scalable, right? But we're going to try to continue to do all of them for as long as possible.
Yeah. Well, what was going back to the first part of it is saying, hey, you're taking, like all brains, you take all the information that's accessible, and then you say, hey, what is working for us? What suits my needs? What suits my work? What suits my, ideal outcome? And put that in place to be adaptive, but continually learning. And what I really like is that transparency, one, the transparency of being open and making sure everybody's working together, but two, the idea that your organization is an organism, and therefore it is a function of the inputs that you put in, much like a CRM or ERP is only as good as the data that it has. And so making sure that you are supporting the success of the organism, which is your enterprise, through good data, good information, good environment, and in a measured / strategic approach to its development and growth. Is that more or less how you see it in a manner of speaking?
Absolutely. Yep.
Cool. So maybe you can ask, shifting gears to the product itself and the industry, because through the past 2 years, there's been a lot of changes in manufacturing. Chip shortages are a big thing. People aren't getting, like, supply chains are just getting their asses kicked. How are you seeing that from call it a macro perspective, external perspective? And then how is that impacting your ability to, if anything, deliver work or even support people in that? So I know that's a lot of questions at once, but hopefully you can unpack those.
Yeah, not to be grandiose about it, but I think that we are, the primary way that I think about it is that we're just late. It's like building solar panels and working on carbon sequestration well after we know that the climate change problem is really tough. I think just like everybody else, there's people that wish that we would have done a lot more responsible science in the 80s and 90s and executed on it. And just like that problem, the supply chain problem, the manufacturing problem, no one's going to be able to solve it tomorrow or next week or in a few months. There's this concept in manufacturing theory called the bullwhip effect, where just like a bullwhip has these crazy curves in it, as we overstock and then we run out of more raw materials and other, structural and frictional changes happen, then we have low stocks. Mathematically, we can almost certainly predict that over the next year, 5 years, 10 years, however long it takes, we're going to still have lots of shocks and ripples through the entire supply chain and manufacturing industry for some time. I think that creating what we're trying to create, if we're as successful as we want to be, having manufacturers be able to communicate with each other through the internet directly from an information sharing standpoint would have really given us a lot more agility and a lot more resilience in the supply chain shocks that happened because of COVID. Because the system is still fundamentally coordinated through phone calls and trade shows and Google searches and PDFs and fax machines, that's the issue that's causing us to have these structural challenges in realigning ourselves. So again, I'm not trying to get too grandiose or too technical about it, but that's my overarching feeling about the situation in the market in general. For us, we've been able to provide our customers the ability to access their shop floor information remotely from home during COVID, which has been really transformative for some of them. For us, it allows us to automate certain things, give them better insights, real-time decision-making. There's so much volatility, there's so much chaos in the environment that actually being able to do things simpler and faster is really valuable. So from an opportunity standpoint, for us, this concept of not being on the cloud was just erased by the entire market. This concept of not changing and being okay with what you had before, people are starting to understand that's not true. But there's still so much work to do, not just in deploying our software to our customers, but also in building more features to support more different types of manufacturers. Our dreams are to create this network of manufacturing. You can't do that by focusing on just one type of manufacturer. which makes our problem just a really big one to solve. So there's this line that I read somewhere about how good companies don't die of starvation, they die of indigestion. And for us, that's really the problem we're working on. How do we ingest more customers? How do we ingest more features? How do we ingest more people? And in a harmonious way, really build this thing.
That's so. First of all, I love that quotable, the dying of indigestion. And as you were explaining that, I had kind of like a dissonance piece, because on one hand, you hear, hey, we don't want to have like a mega manufacturer that does everything, because it is our uniqueness that creates the vibrancy of the world, so to speak. And not on the flip side, but as a parallel, saying, hey, if all manufacturers applied the kind of node effect of a central brain, that we would be able to, on one hand, mitigate some of those challenges and decrease the overall kind of volatility of the bullwhip. And so I guess from your perspective, keeping in mind that we see market consolidation, generally speaking, across all sectors, what does the future of manufacturing look like, without giving away any kind of secret sauce or anything? You're like, hey, I don't want no trade secrets given away, of course.
So I think there's always room for both centralization and decentralization. So we can see the parallels with Amazon, who owns a bunch of warehouses and has hundreds of thousands of employees. Their primary market is e-commerce. The flip side of them is Shopify, who doesn't have any warehouse. Well, they have some, but their primary model is not to be the distribution of it. They empower other companies to do that work. And they both have a really large impact on the market in a lot of negative ways, but also mostly in a lot of positive ways. We can see that as well between Netflix and YouTube. I know those are things that are weirder to compare, but Netflix is, I watch a lot of Netflix. I think there's a value in central planning in terms of content and things like that. But even they are moving towards a more decentralized content planning and purchasing method. But YouTube is an environment where individual creators can go on and create interesting content that, there's sometimes that I watch YouTube videos that are 20 minutes long that I get more out of from a factual standpoint than 3-hour-long documentaries that have really large budgets, right? I enjoy both pieces of content. They can both coexist. But I think that an environment that is starved of a platform that allows individual creators to participate and innovate is a big problem. And I think that you can actually see a lot of techniques and a lot of production value increase that happens in the traditional centrally planned content creation way on Netflix being influenced by a lot of tricks and a lot of cool things that come out of YouTube and individual creation places. For your podcast, you're an individual creator that has a platform on Apple and on wherever else that you're distributing on Spotify, wherever it is that you're distributing. Those platforms enable you to reach an audience by yourself, right? But there are still radio stations and TV stations and things like that. So I don't want to say that it's mutually exclusive, but I do think that overall it's significantly harder to make a decentralized platform, because you have to get so many different people to be able to successfully work on it. If you're just making software for yourself, you're going to make a much better product. It's going to just be a lot better, but it's not really going to be applicable to anybody else besides the way that you manage your business. There's a concept that was studied, I think in the 70s and 80s out of MIT and Harvard, that's called Conway's Law. And the law basically says that your software, the product that you build, is going to mirror your organizational structure. And so if you're going to build something if your organizational structure is very decentralized, the technical architecture and the product you build is going to be more modular and more decentralized as well. If you have something that is really monolithic, everything is all together, your organization will likely gravitate towards that as well, or you'll fail. So I think that is the concept that really drives what we're thinking about. We can't just make software for ourselves. We can't just become the manufacturer and make software for ourselves. That isn't going to help a lot of people. We have to respect that there's a huge amount of expertise out there that we don't know about, and we have to serve that community of people as our customers.
Cool. That's just so well said and very succinct and clear. So thanks, Sunny. So just as we finish up today, like what's next for you? Like I really hear the you're evolving as a CEO, and the opportunity to create a world-class product that expands beyond borders is there, but also done in a very intelligent way that serves the needs of the customers, not the needs of the developers and programmers and engineers making it. What are you looking forward to for you as a CEO, as a company in the market? What excites you still these days?
I think it excites me that we're continuing to increase our reach. We've been in mostly stealth mode, I guess. Like a lot of our customers come from referrals. A lot of our customers just come from, I don't know, Googling some random thing and going to page 11 and finding us. So we're starting to spend a little bit more money on marketing, a little bit more time on it. I'm here with you talking about what we're doing. I think we're entering an era where it's time for us to be a little bit more exposed to the market. And that's going to come with a lot of other challenges, where it's going to come with other indigestion problems as well. But I think that excites me. It excites me to see where we miss and where we need to improve the product. It excites me to see who we really delight and what we need to keep. I think a larger volume of data just will allow us to have genetically a much better product. And so I'm excited to forge the product through another bout of heat and fold some more steel together to make it stronger. But I think I'm mostly excited about what I'm always excited about is a continual infusion of talent, of people, of customers, more voices that just creates a very noisy environment, but also an incredibly energetic environment. That's really what motivates me to keep going.
Cool. I love that. Well, from a consumer and a person, if companies are built with the intentionality that you are bringing to it and the passion, I think the world is in a good hands. And I just wish it nothing but the success for you and your team and for what you're up to. I look forward to what's next because I just really like where you're coming from. So just thanks for being here. Thank you for slowly moving out of stealth mode and allowing the world to know what you're up to because I think it's net good. And so I'm excited for it. So where can people, now we're going to move even further. Where can people find out about Fulcrum? Where can they, I don't know, do a demo, learn about how it can help their businesses and just connect with you on a personal level?
Our website is fulcrumpro.com. We show actual screenshots of the product there. You can book a demo. You can chat with someone live. We're very open about what we do. We'll answer your questions directly and bluntly. And if anybody's listening to a podcast, I always offer my email. It's sunny like the weather, SUNNY @fulcrumpro.com. You can hit me up. I used to probably be able to respond within the same day, but you probably feel a few days lag now as my inbox is getting a little unruly. But I do intentionally try to get back to people that reach out directly.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate that. I'm going to pass on a referral or two your way. Just I like what you're doing, even though I don't know fully what the product does. But more than anything, I just so appreciate you offering your time today. It's been a sincere pleasure. I'm smarter for it. And so I hope our listeners are as well. So Sunny, thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Folks, my guest today, Sunny Han, who is the CEO at Fulcrum. Be sure to check them out. Listen to this interview. I hope that from digesting this content, you don't get indigestion, but really a richer self and a richer leadership style. And there's lots to take away from today. So thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for being you. And I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.